Here we go.
My great pleasure to meet for the very first time, King's Elliot. I love your music and it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. Hello from Australia.
Hi to Australia. Thank you so much for having me, Shane.
Have you ever been down under? Is my first question. Have you visited our country?
No, I have not. And I am desperate, like beyond desperate to. But I need you guys to want me there. So I'm just waiting.
Well, I'll do my best to promote your album because you have that kind of voice, which I think only needs to be heard once or twice and people are going to check you out. That's for sure.
Thank you very much.
How often do you get mistaken for a mermaid? Is that the look that you're going for?
Kind of. It's like the mermaid from the 50s was like my fantasy. It was like making songs that revoke the 50s and being a mermaid, and kind of like that was my whole vision. And then usually it's the children that are like, "Mummy, is that a mermaid?" Like I've actually had that a few times.
I knew it.
It's like a little kid that's just like, "Mummy," and then I'm just like, "Yes, I am," and I just live the whole fantasy, and it's great. But yeah.
Well, before we move on to your music, your look. Is there a particular style that you go for? Have you always had the same style? Like, how would you describe your look and aura?
My aura. I would say, oh God, this is a good question. I feel like it's, to be honest, I feel like it's ever changing. I've always wanted to just be very comfortable. So I've never been one to put myself in outfits that are just like super fashionable but really uncomfortable. So I'm kind of always like, I just want to feel comfy. That's like my priority.
Yeah.
And I think my manager had to really like encourage me to get out of my sweatpants. I filmed the first 3 music videos in sweatpants. I think I'm just someone
no judging.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And also it was in lockdown, so I think it's very understandable. And I think my whole thing is I crave comfort and I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be comfortable. Yeah. Like, especially with my songs and stuff, my whole thing is I want it to feel soothing. So when I create music, when I'm singing the music, I want to be comfortable. So yeah, I mean, I try different things and I don't know. I think the hair is the big, I think also the hair lets me get away with like more sort of blandish outfits, I guess. I don't know, because the hair's so blue. So I'm like, I don't need to try so hard with the outfits. So I don't know. But it's hard to describe. I don't know. But it's ever changing as well, you know. I mean,
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think now I dress completely differently than a year ago. Definitely. So next year I might be wearing some crazy stuff that is super uncomfortable. Like, who knows?
Well, there you go. Your aura is smooth and unpredictable. That's great.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning, were you always destined to become a performer, a singer? Was there any acting? You know, what happened when you were a little girl that made you decide?
There was never any acting, but I was always I was obsessed with the idea of becoming a singer. Like, I always knew that I would be a singer. I don't know, you know, these people, their stories you hear all the time. It was kind of the same with me. I was in kindergarten, I already was singing, and everyone who was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I was always like, "I want to be a singer." And in school, I was like, "I don't need this, I'm going to be a singer." But I did my whole education in Switzerland, so that's where I grew up. So my mum is Swiss and my dad is, sorry, other way around. My dad is Swiss and my mum is English.
I hope so. I hope you got that right.
I'm tired. It's 9:30 here. And so half and half. And so I grew up in Switzerland and I spoke English to my mum all the time. So I already started writing songs in English when I was, I don't know, 10 years old.
Yeah.
I guess when you start writing words in general. So I just always had that impulse to write music and to write melodies and to write words. then sing them and perform them in front of my mirror for hours on end. And I actually thought everyone does that. So I think that for me, it was just always very natural. And then when I got older and realized that everyone else wants to do like work in an office or be a police officer or be a nurse,
Right.
I was like, well, I don't. I want to be. So I saved money and I moved to London because it was also very unusual in Switzerland. I think like most people, because it's a tiny country and it's kind of very untraditional to then go and try and make a career out of singing and writing songs. Like it's very uncommon, I think, in Switzerland. So for me, everyone just thought I was delusional. And
no way.
So I did all my education, worked in an office, I saved money, I worked, I did all of that, and I decided that, once I saved enough money, I moved to London to pursue it properly. I worked a million jobs here in London, just trying to keep my head above water and make music at the same time. And then at some stage I put it out by myself without a label or anything. I just decided to release. Thank you. Because to be honest, if no one believes in you, you just have to believe in yourself. You just go for it.
Well, if you made all that money, you could put it in a Swiss bank account, one of those dodgy Swiss bank accounts, and
yeah, exactly.
No tax.
Yeah, well, I'm still a resident, I guess, so I guess I can get away with more than, because now there's new rules and stuff, I've been told, so I'm like,
oh, is there? Okay.
But I can get away with it because I'm actually Swiss, so but cut that out. No, I'm kidding. So I don't know, and then I put the music out, and then I think some people liked it, and then I got a record deal, and I started, and then I quit my day job in London, and I just was like, okay, now I'm gonna just gun for music, and here I am. Sorry, you didn't actually ask me for my whole life story that I just.
Oh, I'm intrigued. I could sit here all morning for me and night for you, but I won't do that to you. You did mention about writing songs. So when you were working at these other jobs, were you still writing? Were you walking around the office singing harmonies in front of everybody and doing all that?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask probably all of
I knew it. I could just tell.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, oh, she was so annoying. I always I mean, to be honest, in my old jobs, because it was computer, like I was on the computer.
Okay.
At the computer, I used to write songs at the computer all the time, like lyrics and things like that, while I was supposed to do other jobs. So I mean, now I can say it because it doesn't matter anymore. But like, yeah, I used to just, I was being paid to like do something proper, and I was just writing songs all the time on the laptop. And then I was just pretending. I mean, I would do the job quite quickly. Like you give a task, I do it quickly, and then I do something else for my music and pretend I'm still doing the task. Everyone's like, she's really slow. Actually, I'm like, so I was definitely all the time doing that, and everyone knew. I think everyone always knew that was what I was wanting to do. So it was never a surprise when I
no
quit.
way. I mean, it's no surprise to see where you are now too, and you're only on the rise, which is fantastic. And I've got like a fun fact. I worked in a bookshop for a while, and I'm a journalist, a movie journalist and music journalist, and I used to log off for lunch, go downstairs, see a movie in the cinema, and just come back up into the bookshop. No one would even know I was away for that extra hour watching movies. So, are
you joking? That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. But that's a story amazing. I haven't told anyone before. So there you go.
Oh my God, we're airing it all out. This is great.
So tell me about Bored of the Circus. Unusual name for an album. Was that always going to be the name of it? And was it a challenge, your most challenging work yet? Just tell me a little bit about how you kicked it off and got it released. So
because it's 5 songs, I'm like, I don't know if I'd call it an album.
It's still an album. It's like an EP.
It's like a mini album.
Yeah.
But it is a body of work. So, and it just kind of naturally, like because we already had the songs last year. I always write all the time anyway. So like I don't really go into like phases where I'm like, okay, now I'm going to write the album. Like I'm more like, I'm always writing anyway. And then I had a bunch of songs and I was like, these are the 5 that I want on the EP. I already knew which ones I want. And I mean, I'm quite lucky with my team. Everyone's quite like, all right, that's cool. No one like fights me on it. And I'm just like, these are the songs. So then so it felt quite easy in a sense to write it because I just wrote them and then I was like, these are the songs. And then the production was hard. I mean, the production and the mixing of the song, because I mean, I sit in on everything and it's all between me and my main collaborator, Half Rhymes. We just like, we write all the songs, produce them, mix them together. And it's just like, I mean, we were like 2 months after the deadline that we were told that we had to hand it in, but it was just like, it wasn't done. And it was like, well, I'm not handing it in if it's not done. And it's not like the world's waiting. So I was just hang tight. So we just, you know, we just work days and nights and yeah, that was tough because I guess it was the first time in my life that someone said, we need this delivered. Whereas before when you're independent and just on your own, you kind of just make the song and then you put it out and it's
no deadlines.
And then suddenly you're told you have to submit it and they have to put it in like a system and it's this whole big thing and you're just like, what? So that was really strange. So the first time in my life I had to work with a deadline, which I was 2 months late, but that's fine. I mean, to be honest, they should learn from that and just trick me in future and just tell me 2 months before without, you know.
That's smart. They maybe might do that.
And no one ever tell me that they're lying to me and then it will all be fine. So yeah, but
was it an easy process? Like, did you have difficulty leaving songs out? Was it ever going to be a full album or only 5 songs?
No, I always wanted it to be 5 songs because because it's still so early on, I don't feel the need, or I don't want to put a whole album out there yet. Yeah. I still want to give it in small little chunks, if you know what I mean.
I get it.
Have a little nice compact body of work. And I just already knew the title when I wrote Butterfly Pen, which I wrote like beginning of lockdown.
Wow.
I was still working on the first EP, Chaos in My Court. And then I wrote Butterfly Pen and I was like, oh my God, that's for the second EP. And the second EP is going to be called Bored of the Circus. Like I just already knew, and I already knew that I was going to be the sad clown. And I already saw it all in my head, but I was still sort of working on the other EP. So it felt quite easy to me because it just felt like natural. I don't know, sounds weird, but it just felt like that was how it was meant to be. And to me, I always feel, and maybe it sounds pretentious, but I always trust my gut, and I always feel like I'm quite spiritual, and I always feel like I receive things, I don't know from where, but I just get things in my head and then I'm like, that's it, like that's what it is. So I guess it comes quite natural in the sense I'm like, that's the songs, that's the title, that's the artwork, and I just see it.
Yeah.
And then I guess the struggle will be when the day comes where other people tell me that's not what it is. I guess that's the day the struggle goes. But until then, I just feel like I feel very sure in like what I want to put out.
Right. Well, what you're being spiritual, do you change? Like, do you have things that come to you naturally, spiritually, and you can change a song that way? Or are you in the studio with the headphones on and something says to you, no, this isn't right, and you change it there and then? Or do you have to work on
I change stuff. I change it all the time. I mean, but I know when it's done, like it gives you you get this feeling where you're like, this song is finished, like it's done. But I will change it for ages and ages. I mean, that's why it takes me so long to hand it over, because I need to sit with it. I need to take my time, like with the sounds and stuff, the production and the mixing. It's such a huge process. You have to really sit with it and listen to it and then be like, this sound bothers me. It needs to change. Or you're like, this line is not good enough. I mean, that, you know, there's, because like, for example, Ashes by the Morning. I mean, oh my God, the chorus came out in like 15 minutes, but then the verses, I wrote like 7 different verses.
Oh, it's a brilliant song. So it had changed along the way.
Thank you. Because I was just like, that's not right. That's not right. And then we wrote the verse and I was like, no. And then I just kept thinking, no, that's not it. And then suddenly I was like, that's it. I don't know. So I'm definitely not easy to work with. But that's why one of my main collaborators, my main collaborator, Conway, he is one of my best friends, and he really knows what I'm like. Because I always have this with people that I collaborate with, they just get tired of my changes.
What about musical instruments? Are you a specialty at several instruments, or just one or two? Because there seems to be a lot of different sounds on this particular album.
Yes. I mean, I'm not a wizard by any means. I play piano and guitar, mainly to write, to be honest.
Right.
Conway and I do produce the whole thing together. So a lot of what you hear, the strings and the mellotrons and things, that's not like, that's programmed through keys.
Amazing what you can do.
I know. So it's not like a real recording of like strings. But it's all done in the studio, and he's incredible. I mean, he plays, he does the drums. We work out the drum pattern together, but he'll play the drums and he'll play the bass. And because we record real bass as well, we always sample things, we always make sounds in the studio, like I like bang my head against, not in my head,
experiment.
my hand.
You experiment. That's good.
Yeah, we always build everything in the studio, so like a lot of the sounds you're hearing are just random things that we've made that are just like that I don't even know what they are anymore, but there's stuff that we made in the studio. And I think that's what we both really love, is not taking stuff that is like on the internet for everyone to use. It's stuff that we make in the studio. But all just him and I. It's just him and I doing the whole shebang. I mean, we don't have shebang, that word.
What a word that is.
Yeah, that's a good word.
What about inspirations? I guess you've been asked this plenty of times. Have your inspirations changed over the years? Other musicians that you admire, or are they always, been the same core?
At the moment, it's still the same as like 2 years ago. I mean, I was very inspired by Queen because my mom always listened to Queen when I was growing up.
Cool.
I love, the big choir arrangements and the melodies and stuff. I mean, huge fan and hugely inspired by that. And then when I discovered the 40s and 50s when my mind was blown as well, because I was like, oh my God, I love the harmonies, the chord and melody interactions and all this stuff. So I love that from the 50s and 40s. So that I feel like feels like my main inspiration. Like I listen to old music and then I feel inspired to create something that is like now, but is infused by that sort of vintagey feel. And it's still the same. I mean, someone asked me this the other day and I'm starting to think that maybe I need to broaden my horizon. Because I don't want to say the same thing for ages. So I will change it up. I'm going to change it up, and I'm gonna go really out of my comfort zone for the next batch.
Well, when you think about it, people like Madonna, Lady Gaga, they've changed their styles up, but they've also remained the same. So you could maybe do something like that, change it up to a different higher notes or different kind of background music, but you're still the same King's Elliot.
Well, that's what I was saying the other day to some people in my team that was saying, like, how about something new? And I was like, look, the main thing I care about is writing beautiful songs, and that will never change. Like, I want to write songs that are timeless and that are beautiful and that they say something that make you feel something. So I'm not up for just doing something crazy just for the sake of it. Like, I'm definitely not. I want to write the songs I want to write, but I'm up for maybe trying some different production things. So Conway and I are going to we're going to have a look. Maybe we'll bring in some beats, because everything's very mellow on my EP. So I think maybe we'll bring in, maybe I'll try a bit of that, and yeah, we'll see. But I think it's so strange to and also I feel like it's still so many people haven't even heard any of my music. So I feel like I just want to do the sounds that I love, I guess. I don't know. I feel like you can't too consciously just say what you're going to do, because otherwise it will feel contrived, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So that's why I'm really conscious of anyone sort of injecting their opinion into what I'm supposed to make. I'm always just let me create, and then we can talk about it afterwards. But I just want to make what feels right, I guess. And I guess
what feels right should be what you're after, because if you're not feeling right about your music, obviously things will go wayward. What I was going to say is a lot of your music videos are like short films or mini movies. So maybe you could extend on that and do a musical, write a screenplay for a musical or some tunes for a short film musical, and go your different way that way. That can be done.
Oh, I'm actually working on something very exciting, but I can't say it yet.
Can you give me an exclusive or a hint?
Wait, when is this coming out?
It'll be about 3 or 4 days time.
Oh, I can't say it. But can I tell you? But you don't put it out? No.
I'll pause. And now we're back. Thank you. All right. So a couple more questions before we wrap up. A new era in music, I think, is coming. I guess, I don't know your age, but you were at that age where people were putting music on YouTube and becoming famous that way. Do you think it's going to change the music industry? How do you think it'll change, if it'll change?
Well, now is TikTok.
Yeah, that's true. And that's fairly new. It's in itself, as the time we're speaking. Yeah.
It feels, I think, definitely the fact that obviously the snippets that are being consumed by people are just way shorter than what kind of YouTube is and stuff. So that feels strange, even for me. I think for anyone who writes songs, because you want to write a full song, and it's upsetting to just have a snippet on a platform.
30 seconds. You want more than that.
Yeah, and I think that's upsetting for anyone who writes the music, because you're just and that seems to be the main source of people discovering. So, but how is it going to change beyond that? I think people at some stage are going to get sick of only having this. I really hope, and I just think at some stage it's just going to loop around, and people are just going to be I am sick of only getting 5 seconds, because it's just going to get more and more extreme. And then everyone's just I just want to consume a proper song and feel it. So I hope that we're going to go back around, and people are just going to want to hear full songs and care about the artist. I think that's also something with that sort of way of consuming, you don't really care about the artist, you just care about the song. And that's a shame, because there's so much more than just the song, right? There's the whole thing behind it, and you can get invested, and you can, I don't know. So
it's a really good answer. I think that things evolve, and you do really have to get behind more than just a 30-second clip. Sure, you can get the vibe of it, but I agree there has to be different platforms where you've got the whole song. That's always going to stay the same. Yeah. How many duets would you like to do in the future? Is there anyone that you have singled out that you'd like to approach and sing with, collaborate with? Probably millions, but can you name a couple?
Yeah, I mean, I love Steven Sanchez, who has, he's very inspired by the 50s, which is it was obviously my favorite era of music.
Yeah.
So I discovered him recently, and I was like, oh my God. And I've seen him live, and we actually sang together. He came on stage when I was touring with Imagine Dragons because we became friends, because I was like, I'm obsessed with your music, and we became friends. And I took him on stage for one song, and we sang a song together, but that still isn't like actually doing a duet, but we did sing on stage together. But that is one that I would be like, okay, I'd love to sing with him again. But because there's not many people that I feel like, you know, because the thing is, right, you want someone where your vision doesn't get sort of diluted. So you want someone that has very similar taste to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel anyway. I mean, it could be someone who's the opposite, and then it's really interesting, but I don't know. It's actually quite difficult, but there's a lot of people that I love. But yeah, I mean, Steven Sanchez is one of the people that I think would be really cool.
Speaking of you like Queen and mentioned that with your mum listening to a lot of Queen, what did you think of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody and Ramy Malik as Freddie Mercury? Did you see the film?
That was really good. I watched that on the plane, but like years ago. How long has that been? That's been out a while, right?
Yeah, about 3 years ago now. It won he won an Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. I thought it was incredible.
Well,
did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I think the recreation of the concert scene, especially by everyone involved, was unbelievable. So I'm glad that you liked it too. There's so many biopics on different actors, musicians. The Elton John one, Rocket Man, was pretty good as well. I quite liked
I haven't seen that one. That one I need to watch. So I've been told about that one so many times. I need to watch that one.
So
maybe
to finish it up, has your time in the music industry been smooth sailing? Has it always been respectful and, you know, everything above board? Because it's a tough industry. Well, you've done well. You've done well to come out the other side then, if there has been dramas.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's definitely not been respectful at all times. It's definitely not been smooth. It's been very rocky. I've been disrespected a lot. I've been said no to a lot. I've been, a lot of things. I mean, it's tough because especially because I've been in and around the industry because I was just trying to get to just work in the industry and trying to just find my way. And I think that's why I've definitely come across a lot of
dodgy characters. Fair enough.
Yeah, but I've never let that hinder me ever.
Good.
Like I would never.
Well, I'm not getting tired of you, Kings. That is for sure. Pardon the pun. But I know I have to wrap it up. And you want to go. I really appreciate your time. Bored of the Circus, terrific. I'll call it an EP, but I think it's sort of like almost an album. Any final words? I get it. Any final words from you, the creator, on why people should listen to it on Spotify or wherever they get their music?
Oh, the creator. I like that. Feels like you've created a little, you created a little baby, don't you? And a little world. It's sweet. My final words about it are, I'd say if you want to feel something or just, you know, have something soothe you as well, then it's a good EP to listen to / album / whatever.
Well, thank you for letting me get to know you a little bit. I've really enjoyed our chat, and maybe you'll change a hair color in the future. Is that a possibility, or have you ever thought about it?
I've recently thought about, should I go back to my roots? But it's not happening anytime soon because I've never felt as comfortable as with blue hair and blue eyebrows. It feels like the way I feel inside, I've made it like
it's you. It's just you. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's just like the alien that I am, and it's just like, So I don't know. So it'll be a while until I change it.
Well, look after that lovely voice. And good luck in the future with this upcoming project as well. Obviously, I'm very much looking forward to that. And
Me too. Thank you so much, Shane.